Alright, legends, welcome along to Here's Rodder's Reviews. Once again, we're getting into He-Man and the Masters of the Universe with a little episode called City Beneath the Sea. This was a great little episode. Really enjoyed this one. And of course, from some episodes, you know from the title who the main villain is likely to be. And as soon as I seen the title of this here, I thought to myself, okay, Merman is probably going to play a big part in this episode, and he does. Indeed, he is the villain in this episode. And once again, we got another episode without Skeletor even making an appearance on it. And again, like I said in the last episode, it's really weird when you think about it, because every time you think about this show, it's He-Man versus Skeletor. It's just it's weird. It is actually really strange how many episodes of that original series didn't have Skeletor in it. So it's a vast universe. It's far bigger than I can remember it being. But essentially at the start of this episode, there's ships going missing at sea from the Royal Palace, or just Eternus, whatever they're doing. They're shipping trade routes and whatnot. We see this whirlpool opening up and sucking ships down to the bottom of the ocean. And at the beginning of the episode, of course, the king and man-at-arms are, discussing this with the guys that, run the shipping lanes. And they're trying to work out what's going on, but they can't get peace for their little meeting because of this laughing and giggling going on in the background. And there's a couple of girls from the palace that are laughing because they're having fun with Prince Adam, who's playing about and mooching off as usual. And he's got a blindfold on. He's trying to find his way about to try and find these two girls. And he manages to not get Cringer's warning in time. And Cringer's like, the only thing you're going to get is trouble. The only thing you're going to find is trouble. And Adam, thinking he's grabbed hold of one of the little giggling palace girls, has actually grabbed hold of the king at this point, his father. So he's not happy. He's like, for the prince of the palace, Prince Adam has got no sense of, duty in his father's eyes most of the time. This plays into the relationship between the two of them a lot, even in the more recent shows from 2021, 2022. That still plays a big part today. But when we find out what's going on and Prince Adam becomes aware of it, he actually goes to his father and requests that he gets to go with Man-at-Arms to work out what's happening. And his father is, excited and proud that his son, there's a new word for you. He's proud that his son is finally starting to show some sense of duty, and he agrees to let him go as long as he is careful. And of course, Cringer the whole time is like, your lordship, I think you're wrong here. You're making a wrong choice. But he's just Cringer being Cringer. So off they go, the three of them. The plan that Man-at-Arms was working on was to create the ships that they could be remote controlled, so that if they did lose a ship at sea, they wouldn't lose any people with it. It's like we're at the point now where we can't get someone to man these ships, so we're going to have to remote control them and try and work them that way. And he's set up this sonar device that'll scan the bottom of the ocean as well. But the three of them head off, and they discover that there's a city at the bottom of the ocean that they didn't know was there. And of course, the closer they get, then the whirlpool starts, and the ship is dragged to the bottom of the ocean with them on board it. Of course, Prince Adam becomes He-Man, transforms Cringer into Battle Cat before the ship goes down, and they're taken prisoner in this palace in the city of Aquatica. It's a legend up to this point, but they finally found it. It's located in the Harmony Sea. So, excuse me, I'm a bit blocked up in the nose here this morning. Yeah, so they're taken prisoner by the Aquaticans, and their leader is called to see what they're going to do with these prisoners. And of course, it's Merman. He turns up, and he's revealed himself as the guy that's been bringing the ships down, and we discover that he's an Aquatican himself in a way. Not exactly the Aquaticans we meet in this episode, but he's not a real part of these, and he's taken over from their ruler, who is Princess Nami, and he has her bound up in another part of the coral caverns, and He-Man has to go and try and rescue her, and there's a huge monster there waiting to protect, to try and stop He-Man from rescuing her. And of course the Aquaticans are under control of Merman. He's using this relic called the Pearl of Power. There's usually some sort of magical item there that'll help the villains achieve their ends in each episode. In this one here, this pearl is clearly controlling the minds of the rest of the Aquaticans, apart from one who knows a spell to stop the power of the pearl messing with his mind. So he's the one that helps He-Man, tells him that they have a leader, and she's been held captive, Princess Nami. So he goes off to rescue her from this creature, manages it, and brings her back. And then there's a real satisfying part where whenever He-Man has rescued the princess and they're returning back to the Aquaticans city. Excuse me, I'm trying to breathe through my nose here at the moment. It's not easy. I'm quitting cigarettes, and my whole system is thrown off here in a major way. So bear with me. But there's a wee bit in each episode where just something very satisfying happens whenever the bad guy, the tables turn on him, and He-Man will turn up, and there's that little bit of dry humour or something just will happen that you're just like, yes, class, that's brilliant. And of course we cut back to the throne room in the Aquaticans city beneath the sea, and Merman is screaming, "Where's He-Man at? Find him, he must be stopped." And He-Man shows up and he's like, "I'm right here, Merman." And he grabs hold of the throne that Merman's sitting on, and he spins it that hard that it just becomes a blur, and he stops it dead, and Merman flies across the room. So Merman, knowing that he's defeated right now, and no longer has got hold of the Pearl of Power that's been returned to the princess, he decides, okay, if I can't rule Aquatica, I'm going to destroy it. And he heads off to the machine that he was using at the beginning of the episode that created the whirlpool. And he's like, if I reverse the polarity of this, instead of the whirlpool going up towards the top of the ocean, it'll come down on top of the city, and I'm going to just destroy the city. So he does that, starts it, destroys the controls so that it can't be stopped, and just at that, He-Man comes in and sees he has to do something. So he decides to use his strength. Of course, He-Man, the character of He-Man, being the strongest man in the universe, is going to use brute force to stop a whirlpool at the end of this episode. And the city has, and it's a similar thing to what he did with the Dust Devil in the previous episode. We had a hurricane, and he used the sort of power to spin in the opposite direction from the hurricane to take the energy out of it. Does exactly the same thing here with the city of Aquatica, only this time it's a shield that is connected to the outside of the city, like a physical shield. He grabs hold of it and he starts to run and push it and spins it in an opposite direction. That destroys the power of the machine and saves the city. And at the end, of course, everybody lives happily ever after, more or less. But we have a moment where the Aquaticans, they're kind of starting to say how grateful they are, and that it was their own short-sightedness that led them into this situation, because they just weren't willing to let somebody so different from themselves be trusted and come into their lives. And that is pretty much the moral of the story of this episode. It's like a anti-racist kind of message here. At the end of it, we have the moral of the story handed out to us by a couple of the characters. Break the fourth wall, speak to the viewer, and this time it's Man-at-Arms. And Orko makes a little appearance here as well. Man-at-Arms says, in today's story, the Aquaticans were afraid to trust us because we looked so different from them. Merman talked them into thinking we were their enemies, and it almost caused great harm. You should never judge a person by the way he looks, but rather by the way he behaves. Very, very good message. At that point, Orko pops up and he's like, it's because it's what's inside a person that really counts, right? Or Man-at-Arms replies, Orko, you're absolutely right. And Orko's like, I always am. Disappears. And we close out to the credits at the end of the episode. Absolutely fantastic. I enjoyed this episode so much. We're getting very close to the end of this box set now. I think there's only one more. That was the end of volume 8 in the DVD collection. And I do believe that we only have, there's only another disc left, volume 9. And there's quite a few episodes in here. Probably looking at about an hour, 3 weeks worth of reviews here to get to the end of it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting into this.